2.5 minutes, baby. No pressure.
I think we're good. Zoom is on, and the only thing I'm waiting for is
Are people logged in yet? Or
yeah,
do you have to let them in? Or?
yeah, I'll let them know. But it didn't come through the video.
It's in us.
Not yet.
Later.
I'll keep my eyes peeled on it.
How big is it?
It's pretty good.
Drive first. Well, can I just play it through here?
Yes.
If we, well, I don't know what that adapter was.
Well, you know what we can do actually?
Uh-huh.
We could stop sharing. We could stop sharing the screen
Uh-huh.
on Zoom, and then I could just focus the camera on the video. It's
Okay.
not the best, but just for one video, I think that's the best option. It won't go through.
Did I give you back that adapter? That white adapter that?
Because on mine, you have to do the thing, if it doesn't show the video. Stop video is not there, because at first it was, it had the red line, but it doesn't. Oh, what it came up with. Getting here.
Hi, Beth.
Hello, how are ya?
Okay, how are you doing?
Something like that.
I'm doing good.
That will be in it.
Everything's good here, thank you.
I think the audio should be working.
It's working.
Let me say something really quick, just to.
Yeah. I can
It's
say
working.
something. Say hello to all the people on the Zoom.
Hello, it's working.
Yeah, we're here.
We're here. Hello?
1, 2, 3.
Okay,
Shalom Aleichem.
thank you talking, but yeah, I think it's,
Aleichem Shalom.
yeah. Okay,
Do I need to put it a little closer?
a little closer is okay. Just ask people,
Yeah,
if anybody can hear me, give me a thumbs up.
On the Zoom?
Yeah, they can hear.
They can hear?
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, I think we're good. Let me just close out of here. You just hit that button to go next and that one to go back.
Okay.
And I'll keep monitoring the Zoom, making sure everything's good. All right.
Should I use Powell mic?
Yeah, that, I'd go over there. Are you gonna go up there or you're gonna stand here?
Well, I won't be able to see the slides if I stand up there.
Okay, so you want me to get a look?
Maybe, let's see if there's one over here.
No,
1, 2, 3. Oh, it's worse. Worse.
If he stays over there, he's fine. Just move your Chick-fil-A house. Stays there.
I need
left
to
side
be
of the screen.
monitor.
Yeah, and then
Where?
stand there.
Yeah, do you wanna stand on this side? Just so I can.
Sure.
And you want to tonight?
Thanks for doing it. Say bye-bye to the rabbi.
Okay. Bye, Parker.
You give a high five. Say good luck.
Thanks. Thank you.
You okay?
Yeah, don't go any further back than that, like from there forward.
You
Perfect.
see the pictures.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. All right, is this the microphone working?
Yes.
That'll help a
Yes.
little bit? Okay.
I have
So-
to give you a thumbs up on Zoom if they can hear you.
Yes, and in Zoom land, can you hear?
Yes.
Yes? Okay,
yes.
so, all right,
Yes.
I have to point it to this.
Yeah. It's not going to work now. Okay, I can talk to her.
Oh, she's like very interesting and that's why I think keep doing that.
Is it not working?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now it's working. All right, everybody, thanks for coming. And this kind of forum helps me out because a lot of people want to know, how was your trip? And how's Xander? And all that. So I don't have to say it quite as many times. And anyway, I'm glad to talk about it. This is and one of the things that people have asked is, of course, how is it over there? Can you tell that there's anything different? Well, first of all, is the winter, and there are not that many tourists who come to Israel normally. Um, However, the reservists are just being sent home just about now, and so you would expect that things would just seem a little slower around, everywhere, and it was a little hard to perceive that that's what it was. But I suppose, if I'd go into the office buildings and see that people weren't at their desks, it would have been more evident. But it just looked like winter in Israel, and especially in Jerusalem and the places I was, it was like winter in Jerusalem. But it was, you could feel that there was something different in the air, and definitely fewer tourists around for sure. So this is how you come into the airport. They have this exhibit, which are dog tags. They're hanging from the ceiling there with the names of all the hostages. And so that's the way that you enter the country now in Ben Gurion. And we're going to see if this thing is going to work. It's going to work?
Yes.
And one more
There
back.
you go.
Okay. So there's a whole line of these posters in the airport. So that's also when you're walking down that ramp after you've gone through customs. So that's the first thing that you see afterwards, this whole line. I wasn't sure if this was a misprint or if this was a sign of the times. And I saw the poster again at the end. So I thought, well, that's really what they, supposed to be like that. So in any case, that's yeah. And people are walking by. Most of the people on the plane were Israeli residents, and the same kind of things, just going back and forth to the States. I think, as far as I know, El Al is the only airlines that's flying. And so I met one of my friends there, David Kirshner, and he was expressing how, um, it was a little more difficult for him to make the flight because it wasn't on United. I said, don't you have points on meet points on El Al? He says, yes, I do, but El Al is like, and they were on a mission. He had about a half a dozen people from his synagogue there, and they brought supplies, and they were going around to the places that the missions are going, the places that were attacked, and doing some volunteer work and meeting with community leaders and that sort of thing. So anyway, he said usually he goes, has enough points to go in business class, but he said, you see that guy over there in the blue checkered shirt? He says he's worth like hundreds of millions of dollars. He sat next to me in economy. So he said, look, we're bringing all these supplies to the soldiers. It just seemed like a little incongruous to sit in first class when that wasn't the whole point. So in any case, that's the way we entered on El Al, and with all the colorful things that you get on El Al. This this is my brother from a different mother, because that's why he has different colored skin. But you may have heard me talking about this friend of mine, Danny Admasu, many times. So that's a photo of him. I think every time I go there, I get a picture of us in the kitchen because he does a lot of cooking. So this is actually dinner. Pancakes. Because they have their main meal when the kids come home from school, which is about 2:30, 3 o'clock. And he makes some, chicken dinner or something like that. A big, that's when, and then later on in the evening, they have like a light meal. So that's what he does. Actually, so when I came in, he lives in Rishon LeZion. Rishon LeZion, first to Zion is the translation, one of the first settlements before the state of Israel was established. And Rothschild was one of the benefactors, dug a well there, and they were able to grow things. And there's a winery there. Oh, it works like this better, doesn't it? Should I move it up? Let me see if I can fix this. We'll see. Better? Maybe? In any case, Danny and I met in Camp Ramah in 1998. And he came home with me after camp that year, and my mom adopted him because he was orphaned when he was like 5 years old or less than that. And he comes from a big family. And so his father actually married again, but his stepmother didn't prefer the kids that were from the other marriage. And so in any case, he's been like family to us. And anyway, he made his way through school on his own and worked. And he just this past year, his dissertation for his PhD was accepted, and he's a professor now at Ben-Gurion University and Hebrew University as well. He was working on a presentation. He was the keynote speaker for this conference that was going to occur right after I left. Xander took a bus over there with his friend and heard the presentation. But when we were there, I was able to work on the presentation with him and help him with the grammar and the English and all that stuff. And he also has a book of poetry that's, he was actually quoted by the president of Israel in a speech. One of his poems was quoted. So he, when he chose his field of philosophy, I said, what are you going to do with that? So I didn't exactly tell that to Nadav, but Nadav and Danny have a lot to talk about. And he calls Danny up and when he has something to discuss. Any case, he did well in his presentation. So let's go on. The next day, okay. I don't know, maybe it's me. Connect or something. Oh, those are some fava beans, So he sent me to Jerusalem with some fava beans, and just in case I was, hungry. Actually, he made this bread this time, and the next time when I left, I stayed with him too, brought Xander with me, and it's made out of a couple of grains that the Ethiopians use, teff and another grain, and some bean, actually, and that's how I lost my crown. And the last day I was there. So anyway, lost the crown. I have it again. Anyway, let's go to the next one if we can. Oh, here we go. So what is this? This is Nachlaot. And do you know Katriel, who is a member here? So Katriel made Aliyah. And, for a certain amount of time, the government helps new Olim get established. And he leased an apartment in Nachlaot, which is one of the older communities in Jerusalem. And a really fascinating little area, all these little alleyways and There are some very modest abodes there, and some where you walk through this door that you have to bend down, and it opens up into kind of a palatial apartment, and they're all mixed together in there. This wasn't exactly palatial, but it was just enough for me, pretending like I was a yeshiva bacher for a week. And it was actually, it's kind of hard to find your way in Nachlaot. And this is just a photo that I took, which would remind me how to get in from the main street, which was Agrippus. So Agrippus is on one side of the Machane Yehuda, the Shuk, and on the other side is Rehov Yafo, and in between is Machane Yehuda, the open air market. You know who that is? And Xander is holding this bag that I carried from America that has protein bars and mostly that, a bag full of protein bars. And that's right there by Nachlaot, by the, this is, and you can see in the background, the fruits and vegetables over there. So Machane Yehuda is usually most busiest on Friday when people are coming out to get their produce, but it's busy all the time. It wasn't so busy. Okay, so once again, it was the winter, but you could tell that there was, fewer people there, and at the time. This is the light rail train, and the last time I was there, I was there for the year I visited Nadav, but once they established this train that goes through the city, it just really improved incredibly the traffic issue in Jerusalem. And everybody rides the train, and it's really colorful on there. But I would take the train from Machane Yehuda to near where the old city was, and walk to Yeshiva where Xander was studying. And the buses are moving, and yeah, the buses are all moving. This is a view from the balcony, or the merpeset at the yeshiva. There's a place where they study, the Beit Midrash, and then down the way, just a little way, is where their dormitories are and where they eat, the eating hall. And this is actually taken from that spot, from outside of where the eating hall is. And you can see in the background the Kotel, the plaza over there. And that's really, it's got a good spot. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So once again, yeah, firstly, like I said before, it is winter and there are fewer people there anyway. But even in the daytime, there were very few people there. Very few people at the Kotel. Yeah. This isn't a video, is it? So how do we play it? Next. We're not going to get the sound, I don't think. No?
I don't think so.
Okay, so this is right near the Jaffa Gate, and so I was about to enter into the old city, and I see this group of people here, and there's the leader of the group. You can see with the hand up, and he's giving a speech. And I hear it when I come up, they're singing Kol Hanshama Hallelujah, and a tune that one of our friends, innovated. And I'm like, they're doing a great rendition of this, but they all look like they're Asian. They're all Asian. And so the man who was speaking, their leader, he was saying, there are a lot of people who are afraid to come to Israel now because of the war, but we're not afraid because we have Yeshu on our side. It's protecting us. So they're like messianic. They're messianics from Indonesia. And they came to, especially to, on a mission of solidarity to give support to Israelis. So, okay, this, we went ahead to this. This photo is a guessing game. What do you think this blossom is from? Almond tree. So this was, they're just, you can see the buds in the background a little bit, and they were just starting to open up when we got there. Tu B'Shvat was the day that I actually left, but at this time of the year, the reason Tu B'Shvat occurs when it does is because the first tree blooms, which is the almond tree, and there it was. We'll see another one a little bit later. This was on our way to the National Library, which is this. So they're very proud of this. Israelis are very proud of this. It's just opened, and there's a lot of symbolism in the structure itself, as well as housing all of this incredible library. They have this automated system that's robotic to bring the books up. Takes about 20 minutes. So there's a reading room and books on the shelf, but most of the books are in this cavernous basement, and there is a control room, but they enter into the computer what book it is. This device on this kind of a conveyor and a lift, it goes down the row, pulls out, stops at the level where there are all these levels of crates of books, stops at the appropriate one. This device comes out, pulls the crate out, and then it brings it back, and then it goes upstairs to where the desk is, and that's how they retrieve the book. So when we were up in this is, you may remember Hannah, Xander's friend. She met us over there. And you see in the building behind them, that's the library building. And there's spaces in between those, the structure there. There is some light behind there that casts like an image that spells something, but I'm not sure what it was. This is in a similar way. Those stones that you see in the background on this little plaza are carved out so that when the sunlight passes through them, it casts a shadow with the Hebrew letter. And so we were trying to figure out what it's spelled. It's hard enough to figure out what the letter is from the carve out. But in any case, there are many more things like this. So we were on the first level, on the reading level, and we see there's a whole group there, and they're taking off their devices that you listen for the tour, for the audience tours. We just walked up there like we're going to take our turn. And they said, oh, no. There's a waiting list. It's 3 months long. And you should sign up today. Just go online and sign up for the tour. And the librarian, she said, I'm going to remember you, and I'll welcome you back. So she's, you know how librarians, once they don't let you go once they start talking to you. And so anyway, we didn't get to hear all the significance of it, but we got to see the National Library, the newly opened, and they had film crews in there doing stuff. This is a rosemary. Rosemary grows very well there in Israel, and it was blooming at this time. So this is from Machane Yehuda. I just was very impressed. Usually when I go shopping for cauliflower, I try to pick the ones that don't have any brown spots on them, And here's this whole mountain of cauliflower looking just like that. This is another scene from the balcony. There are other yeshivot that are right next to where Oraita is. There is Yeshivat HaKotel and Esha Torah, and there's one underneath them as well. So the yeshiva that's underneath is bigger. They're more like Israelis that attend. Xander's yeshiva is for American. I don't know if there are any other countries, but American guys from the modern Orthodox movement. And and they all speak English there. But the yeshiva that's down below is much bigger, has a lot more guys in it, and they have their main meal in the middle of the day. These guys, because they're American, they have like a dairy meal in the middle of the day, and in the evening they get the leftovers of the downstairs yeshiva, which is a meat meal, because Americans are used to eating more at night in that way. So, in any case, you can see the view from up there, the panorama, and so at one point it was Parents' Week, and so there were at the peak 39 parents of 72 students. So of course they didn't all come, but they come at different times, they said. But this was the most parents they'd ever had for Parents' Week during the war. So it was a good sign, a good showing. And at one point, the Rosh Yeshiva, he did a tour for the parents, and it's one of his signature things. It's a little different every time he gives the tour, but at a certain point, you get this, the panorama, and he says, this, do you see that hill over there? That's the hill where the Romans came down, and they marched down there in one column, and they split off into two. And then they came in the city down the hill like this, and then that's when, the end started and they destroyed the temple. They were quite brutal in what they did. But then he could also told us this is where the Har Sophim was captured, and this is why they had to take that and took so many casualties. And so there was that high point is a very good vantage point for telling the history, and that's what we got. All right, this scene right here, I have the guy's name, and that video that I made from Israel. Do I have my phone over here? So I can say find his name, because it's an Arabic name, and I didn't remember what it was. Let me see. It's going to come here. Just bear with me for a second. You can ask a question. Let's see. Okay. Wasim Eshkor is his name. So but I don't have a photo. That's a kind of thing. Their group took all these photos, and I didn't have them all. But I was telling you, he's the chief of the Border Patrol. So, and this is where they have their office, which is on like the top floor of the Kotel. So that, you see the stones coming up there, that's almost at the top of where the Kotel is. And then the top is called the Temple Mount. And this is looking down at the plaza there.
Sorry. It only allows us to do one thing on the presentation. There we go.
Okay, and this is that same photo that I used in the video, which is where he cut the wall out so he could have the Kotel, the real Kotel, in there, in his own office. Oh, wait, is that the? Okay, so you see the guy over here with the phone? He's taking a photo through that window over there of Har HaBayit, of the Temple Mount. And this shul over here is used twice a year, once on Yom Kippur and once on Tisha B'Av. And it's actually on Har HaBayit. So when you go, it's on the top of the, the police station or the border patrol station, and they use that room for practicing Krav Maga. So they had all the pads there and all the other kinds of stuff. But once a year they use it as a shul for those things, with the Torah and all that stuff. And it's actually your davening at those important places on Har HaBayit. This is another photo, just you can see the level that it is. And one more photo. You can see there are more women over there than there are men. So I'm not really sure what to make of that, but maybe it has something to do with Miluim. And then this photo is actually taken with the hand out the window. There were these like bars on the window. So it's taken out there of the Dome of the Rock and that plaza from the room where the shul is. This is just some Verba Santa, I think is what the plant is called. Very pungent. They use it for some medicinal purposes. But it was on the hike that we took, Xander and I, when we were at Tekoa. So this is Tekoa. And Xander and I, you've heard me talk about my cousin in Tekoa. And he, so Friday when we got there, we had enough time to take a hike before Shabbat came in. And there's this cave that's rather extensive. And so with a sign on the outside, it's recommended that you go with a guide in the cave. If you don't, proceed at your own risk. And we went for a little ways into the cave. They do have arrows that are reflective for your flashlight, so you can kind of see. But we went in a ways, and then we came out. So that's so it's in the cave, and this is a scene like just outside of it. Oh, you can see the sign. You see the sign in the background? So that's the entrance to where the cave is. Yeah. And then I got a photo in there too. You see it's very steep. Goes down to a creek bed down below in the bottom. And one year when I was there with Nadav, we actually saw the pair of golden eagles, but not that time. So this is the typical scene from, yeshiva. And the guys are studying. They're all very diligent about their work, their studies. They don't sit face to face in there. They sit side by side. That's just the way it's set up. And each person has their makom. So you see the books there. So that's one person's set of books. And everybody has whatever they think they need, for that. And then the desks, they open up and they have other supplies in there. They're tefillin and that sort of thing. And this is just, it's actually a projection that they have. And they have these things not only in Jerusalem, but other places. The whole country, like the whole road is full of flags. All along the roads and the bridges and everywhere is just a flag. So this is just one way of expressing patriotism and that you see in the old city. That's right by the Jaffa Gate. I just took this photo because it's a stack of flour that's outside of a bakery. And of course, what you see when the bakery is open are just a few, items that they have for sale. It's right by the train stop. And this runner over here was running before the bakery opened and before they even, took in the flour for the day. Okay, so I did have a video. We had trouble. It was a little bit too long. This is a scene of, as you can see, strawberry picking. And one day was the day after Parents' Week. They had planned to go to a farm, and it's just east of Netanya, and pick strawberries. So the owner of the farm gave us instructions when we first got there, and he was explaining that they have workers who are from Thailand and workers who are Arabs, Palestinian Arabs, and they don't have them anymore. So they gotta rely on volunteers. When we were there was a busload of Israelis, look like different ages, but most of them are, retirees or, that age, but you can't you have to actually see, I'm on a knee over there. And in between these raised rows, the beds of strawberries, there's a lot of bending over to pick the strawberries. And that's really the only way you can do it. And bending over the rows to get them out. You have to pick the strawberry and have the crown on it. All the, all of those leaves that cover the top of the strawberry. These were very large strawberries, and he exports them to England. So the yeshiva, all the guys went. There were about a half a dozen boys, maybe 10 actually, who stayed back and didn't go volunteering for this because they thought it was what they call bittul Torah, is doing something that's a waste of time when you could really be studying Torah. So they stayed back, and the rest of the guys came and picked strawberries, and he gave us instructions of how to do it and how to. So they have these crates, and you can only put one level in them, and styrofoam crates. There were actually a few Thai workers that were still there, and they were collecting all the boxes, the crates that we were filling up, and they would take them back for further processing. And their little example, you can see those people in the background, they were another group, I believe, of Israelis who came that day. All right, this, I think this is so this is from Kfar Aza. So before we get there, you can see this is a building that was burnt down. So this is after Parents Week also. I have another friend who was my chavruta at seminary, and he came with about a half a dozen rabbis from Detroit, and they do that similar kind of a mission. So I joined with them when they went down south this one day. And the first place that we went was, I don't have any photos of this meeting, but we went to a Bedouin village. It was really more like a town because there are permanent buildings. You think the Bedouins are, living in tents or corrugated, metal buildings and that sort of thing. They're buildings. And they had a municipal center where we met with this representative, a woman who was telling us that she was about to turn 39 and she was very nervous about turning 39. But she had to begin with this bad news that she's a teacher, and one of her students was killed that day fighting for the IDF that day that they lost 21 soldiers. And this guy, actually, we saw, the guide was telling us about it, and we talked about it on the way down there. And she was, visibly, upset, weeping about that. And, okay, we got that said. And then she went on to talk about the relationship that the Bedouin have to Israel and their difficulties. And one of the things, and in the middle of our discussion, the sheikh came in, who was their religious leader of the time, and talked about also is like the way religion is changing for them in their village also, and the younger generation, about how religious authority doesn't have the same kind of influence on the next generation, that sort of thing. But one of the things that she did say was, difficult for her and for them was that after October 7th, everyone, the Israelis in general, just have a distrust of all Arabs, and they're all sort of painted with the same brush. So here she just lost one of her students and still has to, deal with that kind of thing. And that she said that people ask her if they condemn the actions of Hamas, And she said, well, I just did that 10 minutes ago, you know, why do I have to do it every 5 minutes? So there's a lot of pressure that they feel. And that's indicative of other Arabs that are Arab Israeli also. So they're different, you know, different mentalities. And just to add to that, you know, my cousin in Toccoa, the first time I visited him, there was one Arab village on the opposite hill. And now the whole, actually it's a bowl like this, and there are Arab villages that are just surrounding all of Toccoa. He said if they want, they don't even need guns. They could just pick up a rock and just come into the village, you know, into Toccoa and take it over. So after we met with the representatives of that Bedouin town, we went to Kfar Aza. And this is a scene from Kfar Aza, one of those kibbutzim that was right near the border that was attacked. They had a lot of casualties in Kfar Aza and hostages taken from there as well. And there was a woman, she'll appear in one of these photos, I think, who gave us a tour. And she said she felt a responsibility to talk about it and to say, you know, to document it in that way and to bear witness and have other people come through and bear witness as we were doing that day. So this is one of the buildings that was actually burnt down. There's, let me see what comes next. So this is a little, okay, so this team over here is doing some kind of a restoration project. And oh, we don't have any more from there? Is that the only, I don't remember. Do we have any other pictures from Kfar Aza? If we don't, oh, here. Okay. So this, there's an organization called Zaka, and Zaka is you may have heard them. They come in, they actually have to pick up the bodies or the body parts. And they spray paint on the side of the building this code, which tells how many people were in there and that kind of thing, how many dead and that sort of thing. This is actually a bomb shelter. This building, it's an above ground bomb shelter. And here's another scene of their village there, of their kibbutz. So there's this row that of houses, and it's designated, it's the one that's actually closest to where the fence is of the kibbutz. And young people who, after they come back from the army, singles or couples, they're housed in this one row of buildings. And it was like the first one to get attacked. And they have one, let's see if we're gonna get a photo. Oh, there's our guide over there, and she's explaining. You see there's some other folks in the background waiting for most of it is cordoned off, and that you can't go inside of those buildings. But there's one that they allow you to go into, and this is she's 27. So her friends were living in this row, some of them. One, she was telling us, is a captive, and she grew up with this young woman from, you know, the time they were born. And she said one of the problems, you know, that they think about that keeps her from sleeping at night is that there's a certain number of months after which you can't have an abortion. And that she's thinking of her friend and what she's going to do, you know, if she does ever get out, and what she's going to do with this child. I don't think you can see their names up there, but just like some explanation, you can see there's they took some text messages of what they were communicating when on that day that it happened. And this was also something you saw all around the kibbutz. Of course, a symbol of peace. And a lot of the houses that we saw the same dove at some of those. And just the way things were left strewn around like that. And here's some guys davening over there. And that you can see in the Zaka made their, their marks on there. And then inside you see all the bullet holes and outside as well. And some of them, they threw grenades in there and this is just some yard lights that people who come to visit are lighting there. And some big holes, that's not drywall. This is the one apartment that they were allowing people to go into. This is the couple that was living in there. Some more photos of them or their friends. And some of their, could see the blood on there and the text messages, or the WhatsApp that they were sending to each other. Some more of that. And those are those, that's the couple. And another example of another one on the row. And some more like that. Okay, so this, you see where that fence is? Okay, so that's the outside fence of the kibbutz, and that's the gate that you see over there. That's the new gate. But it's not like a huge gate. That's all they figured they needed was that gate. And that's the direction that the terrorists came in through. And then right behind where these guys are is that row of where the young people live. And so what you see is on the other side is an unplanted field, agricultural field. And then in the background is Aza. This is took this photo because there were citrus trees that were, nobody was picking the fruit, and it was all falling on the ground and rotting like that. And so I heard on the on the news the other day that there was one couple who went back to, I don't know if it was Kfar Aza, I think it's Kfar Aza or near Oz. And they, so the women, both the man and the woman, they were in some temporary housing and they weren't able to sleep where they were. So they decided they would come back. So they decided they came back and they first had meals there and then they graduated, now they're just staying there. And when the people, there are all kinds of, people who come through to, to pay their respects, and she's making orange juice for everybody out of the oranges that haven't been picked. So this is just one of the houses of one of the girls. This is actually, they have a mayor of the kibbutz. She called him the mayor, and this is the entrance to his home. That's the basketball hoop by his home, and the orange trees. This is she said this is the bullet or the bullet hole that killed the mayor, and they had either somebody witnessed it or they had a video of it or something, but that's the documentation of the of him there. Okay, is that I think there's something else I wanted to show. So can we put that on there? The other.
I think it came through. You guys. Let me see if I can get it to play so that the other people can see it. Can you stop sharing for a second?
Yeah. So, yeah, we're trying to find this. I have a video of the next place that we went, which was the site of the Nova Music Festival. And, we had that young man here talking about his experience of escaping there. And so you could, they have a kind of a memorial. Oh, here it is. Yeah,
Share with the people on Zoom real quick.
yeah,
So this, Rabbi David, this is your video
yeah,
that you took?
yeah. So, and we don't have the sound, but
Might have sound for this one.
let's see. Okay, so see, in that at Kfar Aza, there were also military groups that came through there to see, and there was a group of, they look like senior military officers that were davening mincha, and that I wanted to get a recording of the artillery that you could hear at that site where this memorial to the, so they have for each person who was taken captive or killed there, they have their photo, and then there's another place where they have a tree. They're not all planted yet, but they're going to plant. They have many of them already, but planting a tree for every person that died there. And about a half a mile away from here, the Israeli army was shelling positions in Gaza from which they were firing rockets. And so when we drove up to the site in the little bus, the door opened up, and the guide is telling us the basic things about how to take cover if a missile comes, and because there are no bomb shelters there, it was just in the park. And one of the artillery shells fired off. It was so loud you could feel it all through your whole body, and everybody jumped. You could see everyone just their whole body take a jump, and you think, okay, now after that one, I'll be ready for the next one. But it's just somehow, it's not so surprising the second or third or fifth one, but it's pretty loud because it just goes right through your body. So that's what was happening that day. And, all the horrible things that happened to those young people, the kind of torture that they went through. So we saw the trees where they were tied up, and they did those terrible things to them. So in a way, it's like surreal to go there and to see that, and to bear witness and that sort of thing. And actually, the guide told us that the week before, he was down there with a group, and they couldn't come to the site because they only let so many people in. And after the quota, then, they don't want it to get overrun with all kinds of people coming to see, and trying to keep the ambiance there in a respectful manner. So anyway, that's yeah.
The same road up to this area, that infamous road with all the cars, and when the kids were all trying to leave, like, is it this same road to get up?
The same road.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The same road,
Wow.
which from this site right here, you could see it's only like 500 feet away is where
And
the
they
road
cleared all
is.
that road out, or is there still, are they kind of preserving some of that situation too with some of the cars, or?
They,
You know what I'm talking about, right?
they
It's like-
cleared the cars away. They
Okay,
cleared the cars away, and there is like a junkyard of cars, or
Yeah.
and that where they all put them in the same place, and we ran out of time. We were gonna go to that site. There was some group who of mechanics who went down there and saved the cars they could, and
Yep.
now the next process is just getting the parts out of them and that sort of thing. But it's a huge. We passed by it from the road, and there's a huge amount of cars there. Incredible.
Go ahead.
Today, a friend of mine that lives in Israel, she told me, I went to Tukuma. She said, I was going to ask you if you were the Kuma. And I said, what is that? She says, it's the cemetery of they call it the cemetery of cars. And you have to have a permission to go there, she said. And that's exactly what you just said, that all these cars, they want to keep it as almost like a memorial.
It's kind of like,
All the
yeah,
people were massacred, those
Yeah.
cars, and they're going to keep it like that. But it's very hard to get in. You have to get a permission. That's what she said.
yeah.
So many of those kids were killed on that road.
So,
You know,
yeah, on the road, yeah, in their cars, yeah. And yeah. Okay, I'll just put, should I go forward to that? The other photos where that was just about the end.
That was the end.
That was the end.
Questions?
What?
Yeah, we can take questions.
Yeah,
on Zoom.
we can take any other questions if you want.
Just raise your hand so that we can bring the microphones. if you want to do that.
Same on Zoom, I guess, if anyone has a question.
Yeah,
so Rabbi David, the yeshiva where Xander is, what kind of, is that a 1-year program or 2-year program?
most of the boys stay for 1 year.
Okay,
And there were some students there who were, oh, no wonder, ran out of batteries. That were stayed for the 2nd year, Shana Bet or Shana Bet.
and how many of them are there? Then you said
72.
American.
72, yeah. And there are actually 2 other boys there that are the sons of conservative rabbis.
Okay,
And we know them. And I saw one of the moms there. She was at JTS with us, and her son is staying for, this is his 2nd year. And so most of them, it's a traditional thing for American Orthodox families to send their boys to yeshiva after high school for 2 years, and the girls for 1. And this yeshiva, they don't encourage the boys to stay there for 2 years. If they come on their own, if they want to on their own, then they do. But before they come for their 1st year, they want to know where they're going to college or university. So in the lobby of the Beit Midrash, when you walk in, it's a little small room. They have a poster with a photograph of all the boys, where they come from, and where they're going to college.
there are no girls there in that school.
There are no girls. It's an all boys school. And they have seminaries for girls. And Xander's friend Hannah is going to one of those. It's smaller, but it's a specialty school. So and Xander's talking about staying for another year. Yeah.
Rabbi, did you have the opportunity to go to that Kikar, what is it called, Hostage Square in Tel Aviv? Hostages?
I didn't go to Tel Aviv at all.
Oh,
So when we were in Jerusalem, there were demonstrations, and the day that we went to the museum, there was a demonstration as we were exiting, as we were coming out of the museum, the National Library, and so when we came, it was just the 3 of us that we came through the park, and we had to cross by the Knesset. And the guard, wanted to know if He said, Chamushim atem, are you armed? Usually they say yesh neshek, and you have a weapon, but he's, very friendly. Like, so what if I said yes? Oh, well, you can't walk in front of the Knesset, maybe. But as we were coming out the other way, there was a group, that had red as their symbol, and they were marching towards the Knesset, but it looked like there was nobody home. We saw like one light in the whole building at the Knesset. But anyway, and then Motzei Shabbos, there was also a demonstration that was just a block away from where the three of us were having some, a meal. So it's happening. They're demonstrating outside of the, for the hostage families. Yeah. Yeah.
It's cordoned off the kibbutzim that you went to. Is there any kind of restoration or rehabbing going on?
So whatever those people were doing in that one video, it looked like some kind of cheesecloth that they were gluing or pasting over the side of the wall. And it wasn't clear to us what they were doing, but it was something official. And they were doing, some kind of restoration project or to make it into a monument, maybe. And then they'll do that to a couple of places, make them into a monument, and the rest of it will just get leveled and start over. Although not all the houses were damaged at that place, at that Kfar Aza there. That some of them, there were only a few, but they were strangely intact. It was kind of odd to see that there were some that weren't touched. But mostly they look like, pretty damaged.
Yeah, you mentioned one of the buildings, they had the dead hostages or body parts. What did they do with it after they had these bodies or body parts in the building? What happened after that?
So that's Zaka, that organization, that's their, they've been doing it for a while. You did it during all the bombings. And according to Jewish law, you have to bury every part of the body. So they collect all the body parts and then they try to identify them through whatever, DNA, mostly that method. And and they said actually, I know this from one of the people who worked at at the United Nations. They had a conference there one day about what happened to the women particularly. And so this one woman who worked for the Chevra Kadisha in the morgue, she was talking about how the bodies were coming in. They couldn't tell what gender they were. Many of them were just their, heads were bashed in and just brains were coming out. And they did that to a lot of the victims. They smashed their faces in so that they weren't recognizable. And the other ones not only raped the men and women and men, but cut off their private parts while they did it. And that was what they did at the festival also, at the music festival, tie them up to the trees and that sort of thing. So that Zaka had to come in to that scene, gather up the body parts, bring them into the morgue, and then they started on their, try to identify them, try to identify who the victims were. Yeah. It was pretty gruesome. And, being in the spot, in the place where that happened, it's, it's like a little too much to take in. You hear about it and read about it, and maybe even if you're gutsy enough, see some of the videos about it. But being in the place where it happened, it was just very surreal. Yeah.
Too bad that the media that we see on television, when they're showing everything bad that happened in Gaza and all the problems, that as gruesome as what you said, that could not be shown. What you just witnessed. I mean,
I-
people could turn off the TV, I guess, but
Yeah,
I mean, it's like
yeah.
almost they're not talking about it.
well, that's one of the criticisms is that after October 7th, for that they say Hamas disappeared, and that everyone in the world like forgot actually what happened, and they're more focused on what the Israelis are doing in their campaign to try to eradicate the distance.
Yes.
I forgot how many kilometers is it, but it takes about 2 hours. It's about a 2-hour drive down there. And so it's far enough away that when you're in Jerusalem, you can't tell that there's a war going on. There are other kind of terrorist attacks in Jerusalem that occur, but you don't hear the bombing. Once you get down there, you hear the planes and the shelling and the ground kind of shakes and that sort of thing.
Carol, have you been in Israel before, in a war before?
Um, I was there in I think it was 2006, in the Lebanon war, and then with a mission of other rabbis, and then 2014, was it then? With all the rockets. And and that one day we were in Ashkelon, I think it was, and volunteering in a school that wasn't, they were late in opening up because of all the missiles. And so this couple of soldiers came in to greet us. They were in an apartment building next to a house that had a direct hit in Ashkelon, and they said they were cleaning up. A lot of the windows were out, and there was damage to their apartment building. So on the way to our next stop, we stopped to take a look at the house. And so we're walking around the house and look at the whole thing is caved in, and the siren goes off. So we run to the apartment building next door that's that was hit, also damaged. There's glass, broken glass, and no electricity in there. And we managed to get down into the shelter in the dark down there. And then we heard the boom, and we knew the missile was intercepted. And then we came out after like another 10 seconds. So anyway, that's just like Nadav, when he went to visit in the winter, in December, as soon as he got off the airplane at Ben Gurion, there was a siren. And that was his first experience with the, missiles. And Xander already, that year he was there for high school, there were a lot of missiles that year that went up where he was studying in, near Tel Aviv. So I guess it's easier to shoot them at Tel Aviv because it's higher or something in Jerusalem, but supposedly they don't want to hit the mosques. That would be sort of a mistake. So if you're like, yeah, but Xander's yeshiva, at the beginning in October, they were shooting missiles that way too. They still had to, and one of them, I was on the phone with Xander in October, and a missile landed. He was like standing on the balcony, and one landed in Silwan, which is just on the other side of the road in town. And he says he saw the plume of smoke come up, and it didn't get intercepted. That one didn't get intercepted. But anyway, sometimes they think if they feel like they're not going to hit a building, then they don't shoot the Iron Dome because they're very expensive. Those interceptors, or sometimes they miss, or they don't, get them. Anyway, that's just part of it.
Anyone on Zoom, Jack?
Yeah, is anyone on the Zoom want to ask a question out there? You could raise your hand or do the hand raising thing on the screen.
Yeah, they should be able to talk.
Left corner. Andrew did. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi, so how safe do you think it is, Rabbi, for people to go?
Hang on.
on, Mike, can't hear you yet.
Try this.
You're not connected to the speaker?
No, it's not. Those ones interaction.
Nice.
Testing?
Computer, yeah. Just go to the computer now.
I've tried and figured out what to do. Okay. I would hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Rabbi, I've never been to Israel. I plan on going. How safe do you think it is now?
Oh, well, can you hear me, Mike?
Yes.
All right, so how safe is it or not? So when we were going to Tekoa, you know, is in the territories. And so I asked cousin Sinai, is it okay, is it safe for us to hike, to take that hike, you know, where we like to go? And there, you know, there was an incident some years ago where some people were murdered by some Arabs in there in that area. But you know, I've been hiking there before, and you know, I've seen other hikers over there. It's like, you know, Israeli thing to do. And so I said, Sinai, is it okay to hike over there? He goes, it's okay. He goes, everything is okay until it's not. And that's pretty much how it is. I mean, you take some precautions, but
With that guy, they monitor everything going on. They want sure they make every effort not to take you where you might be at risk.
right. If you're going, like Bruce said, if you're going with a tour and they have a guide, they won't take you to places that are dangerous. They're not going to take you to the border of Lebanon and, you know, that sort of thing. And, you know, down in Gaza or near the border down there, you think, oh, the war is going on down there. Well, they're still shooting rockets. You know, it's pretty incredible that they can still shoot rockets all the time, every day. They're still shooting rockets out of there. And, but they're not shooting them over at all the towns over there because they're abandoned. There's nobody to kill. Now there may be some people, you know, who are taking those tours like us, you know, but generally they're trying to hit places where there are more civilian population, and you know, that's what they're doing. So if you're on a tour, they're not going to take you to dangerous places, and there's somebody who's armed. I say, I have to just. Do you want to follow? No. Okay. The other thing is when we were in Tekoa for Shabbat, so you know, everywhere in Israel, you know, people carry guns, and you see guns in shul also. But it's not as easy to carry a gun in Israel as it is in the States. It's much harder to get a permit. And so after the war, they released a lot of the restrictions because they felt like people just had to be armed. And also because they felt that, that the army didn't do its job protecting everybody. So, Paul.
If I wanted to go over there, could I take one of my weapons as a tourist?
I
Probably take it on the plane.
Well, usually if I fly with a weapon here, I secure it and they know it and I put it in the luggage and I don't have a problem.
Right, so they x-ray the luggage.
Yeah, I mean, but you tell them at first, I've got it locked.
Yeah,
Purchase weapon there.
I'm
I got enough.
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I thought about it myself also, but I'm not sure if you're allowed to do that.
The other
I would
thing-
probably think not.
You know a little.
They don't want Americans coming there with the guns.
You know a little bit about my past. I've seen too much war, but it upsets me that on the news, which around here is selective, that all I see is Palestinians dragging small babies out of rubble and stuff like that. I believe the Israeli government, there was 1,200 at least that were brutalized, killed between the different events and stuff like that. Every night, they should have one of those individuals on the US news with the areas maybe that are too graphic, maybe blurred, but every night they should be showing one of the people that were killed and slaughtered as as a reason this thing is
The reason the war started.
yes.
Yeah.
And they should.
Yeah, who started the war and why?
This.
It's I'm not sure of that. I don't really watch that kind of news, but they might use the same baby every time, you know?
Well, what gets me is that you see people out there gaze for Palestine. Well, go to Palestine and see how long you last, Mr. Gay.
Yeah. So anyway, I just want to finish this in Shul, there are all these guys who are in Miluim, who are still in service, and they had to come with their rifles because they're still, active. So for that reason, but also for protection. And so there are more guns in Shul than I've ever seen. And the guy who was the neighbor of Sinai, who was sitting in front of us, had a hard time. He kept dropping his rifle and it made a big clank, on every time. But he was the candy man. So all the kids in a constant stream were coming for the candy, and then he dropped the rifle, and then more candy and that sort of thing. So Sinai said that he'd been gone for weeks, and he's like in his 40s, this guy, and but he'd been gone, and they didn't have any candy in Shul while he was gone. So they're very happy to see Hanan back. And later on that day, after Xander and I went for another hike on that trail, we just went in a different direction. And on Shabbat afternoon, when we came back, it was in time for Mincha, and we went to a different shul. And outside, they were, studying, and before it was time to daven, we see a chassid with a big shtreimel. He had this kapata that had like gold pinstripes, and underneath, you see he had his army pants on, not the tan ones, not the green ones, and a big rifle, I was like, ugh. Wish, wasn't Shabbat, I would have taken a photo of that.
I wanted to mention, my niece lives in Tel Aviv. She said even the family pets are affected by the war. She said they were watching television, and as part of the television program, siren went off, and she said without a word, the dog went to the door to go down to the shelter. The dog recognized what to do.
Yeah. So just one more thing about the atmosphere is I didn't get these photos up there either. They have an exhibit, an art exhibit on it's the Rehov Yafo that goes down to the old city, and with artwork about the massacre and that sort of thing. It's everywhere, ubiquitous, and you see that. But on the other hand, people are still trying to live their life. And so in the shuk, I would come home, they study in yeshiva, so they start at 7:30 in the morning and they have a break in the middle of the day. So Xander gets to do whatever, exercise, and then they come and they convene again at something like 5:30, and they go to 10 o'clock. One night of the week, they go to 11. So I would study with them, all through and come home through the shuk. Most of the places were closed, and just a couple stay open, and they have these clubs there, these taverns, blaring the music. It's like kind of a dance party kind of scene where people are eating and drinking and that sort of thing, and all kinds of different people out at the tables at night at 10, 11 o'clock at night, and still have that kind of European thing going on. So it's people are still trying to live their life as they can, and to do volunteer work and keep the thing going. So yeah, Ronnie.
Support them. I know that before you left, you bought items for them. What can we do on a continuing basis for Marshall to keep everyone motivated and energized to do the right thing?
Yeah.
To support.
So they still need, as you said, they had to call back the Miluim, the reservists, because they're all been out of work. And it's just can't keep doing that any longer. It's too hard on the economy. And so I'm not really sure at this moment what to say, buy Israel bonds, but they still need people, volunteers, and all those people are displaced still from the north and the south, and there will be rebuilding to do in those kibbutzim, and so I'm sure that there is the monetary support that we can give to help rebuild those communities down south, and and mostly to support the organizations that are helping those people who are displaced is a priority. And buying Israeli bonds, I'm sure that'll help too. And so if we could, we would have sent over food, but they don't let it in because everybody wants to. So people, this one group that I went down south with, they were all saying that they brought items for the soldiers and different things in a black duffel bag. So they long figured out that the Americans coming with the duffel bags had items like that. And first of all, they have to check them all, what's in there. They don't allow the Americans to, and because they're bringing in stuff that has, new, you have to pay tax on it to bring it in. So if you are going, you should bring it in something that doesn't look so suspicious, like a black duffel bag, like I did. I brought my suitcase and just filled it all with socks, which they did say that's really one thing the soldiers need, because they don't get merino wool. For some reason, they can't get merino wool in Israel. And the socks that they do have, they turn into statues, after you wash them. So they're happy to get that sort of thing. We'll keep you posted on that. I mean, mostly for Israel activists like us, we have to just keep in touch with our representatives and make sure in this climate that that the United States doesn't force Israel like they have every other time to stop before the goals are accomplished. because then there'll just be a lot of dead people and it'll go back to the way it was. And one of the things that that I've been hearing is that from Dan Senior, the people, other of those guys who are in the, is that you don't hear criticism from the other Arab nations, except for like leave Iran out of it. But all the other Arab nations aren't condemning Israel like the other countries are in the West. And it's because they want them to eradicate Hamas. And that they know that there won't be any like progress forward on the issue of the Palestinians and their statehood or that sort of, and no stability unless they're able to eradicate Hamas and start with something different. And also that it shows a certain kind of power and ability to control the environment that the other Arab countries are looking for. They don't want a partner who's weak. And you know how those Arab countries are with problems that happen in their own country. They're pretty cruel and ruthless. And so if you have a country like Israel that capitulates to the Americans every time there's conflict, they see that as a sign of weakness and not as a good viable partner. So one of the things that I was talking to our group when we went down to Kfar Aza is that you hear hearing all the explosions, all the shelling, which is kind of jarring. But I said, I sometimes feel like this a little guilty that I don't have enough compassion for the Palestinians who are dying in Gaza. And so it's a little bit of a internal conflict. We know that there are like so many people who are dying because of this. And okay, in our rational mind, we say, if Hamas would just give up, then the war would stop. They started it, and it's because of them that all these people are dying. They don't really, care that much about it. The same as maybe we do, but in a time when they're still firing rockets at us, it's hard to have those the same kind of compassion that you would if you were, in a more objective position. And so you see people who are in the West and they're demonstrating and they're idealistic or something, like they don't really have a sense of the same kind of feeling as, the Jewish people. We feel like, okay, we understand it's a terrible tragedy, what's happening, but you have to put that in a compartment, in a box, because the war is still going on. And unfortunately, that's how it is in war. That's why you don't start wars, because they're pretty ugly. Anyway, I know, Ronnie, that didn't really answer your question, but it was an attempt.
You think that we should pick up any project or any PTSD in children or whatever, and maybe concentrate our efforts on one thing, like take care of our little corner, instead of being overwhelmed by, oh, there's so much to do and we can't help.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there is that particular need for sure. And there are agencies and therapists. There was a report on NPR last week about these rabbis who are counseling people who are in the hotels and that had the kids who had these tragic things that they had to see, and the two rabbis that they mentioned were both women, Israeli rabbis. One of them we know. In any case, there probably are some projects like that, like to adopt a kibbutz. And, you know, along with other congregations and for the rebuilding project, that sort of thing. Yeah.
So, in last month's Hadassah magazine, I actually took a picture of it. There's special stuffed animals. They're therapy dogs, stuffed dogs for children, and they have extra long paws and they Velcro and they come around the kids
And hug.
so that they're hugging them.
Uh-huh.
And so I took a picture because that's how that we could, I mean, something like that is.
Yeah.
That's maybe we could do that with social action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also had somebody say, Randy said we're knitting hats for the soldiers for Mitzvah Day.
That's nice. Okay, any other? Lots of.
Very much.
You're welcome.